Hi, I'm Joshua Kemble. I've been a graphic designer and illustrator professionally for about 20 years. I've been an art director for about 8. And when I'm not working on graphic designs or illustrations, I'm working on graphic novels, like Jacob's Apartment, which just came out about a month ago. That's my graphic novel about the kinds of questions that can shake even the strongest of faith. And that book is kind of equivalent to if you took Eternal Sunshine for the Spotless Mind and Ghost World and put them in a blender and you like that flavor. It's got that kind of vibe to it. It is a story about two young adults who, while searching to find purpose in their lives as well as pursuing their dreams, in reality, start finding connection, and their dreams and reality start interweaving. So there's a lot of like dream and real sequences. It's also a young love story that tells the tale of two roommates, Jacob and Sarah, and their journey trying to find purpose. And it ultimately begs the question of what the purpose of anything is without love. And so it's a doomed romance story. I highly recommend you guys check it out. It's a very personal story to me, and I spent about 5 years on it, and I feel pretty proud of it. So please, if you haven't yet, go check that out and ask your local bookstore to carry it or to order it and carry a copy of it. Another really great way you can support it is if you live in an area that has a library. Let's say you can't buy the book. The next best thing you can do from buying the book is just go to your local library and say, hey, I would like you guys to carry this book. That way, not only, if they order the book, that way it not only benefits you, but anybody who goes to the library can check out my book. There's quite a few libraries carrying Jacob's Apartment, and that makes me really proud because I, as a kid, was a kid who grew up on little to no income, and so libraries were a really great way for me to access a whole bunch of books that I otherwise wouldn't have been able to. So yeah, that's something to consider. And I have another graphic novel called Two Stories that's a confessional, autobiographical graphic novel. It's black and white. It's done in the vein of things like Harvey Pekar's American Splendor, or basically Raw, the old collection of different independent underground comic books. It's done very much in the style of that, telling the story actually in two alternating styles. So it kind of switches between a more realistic style to a kind of more fun, simplified, very cartoony style. And it tells the story, two juxtaposing stories. One of an adult, myself, learning how to deal with pretty severe depression, navigating suicidal ideation, as well as some really heavy mental health topics that my goal in writing about in a very confessional and honest way is to try to destigmatize those conversations, because I think more people out there than will acknowledge tend to deal with depression and anxiety and overthinking. And so that's the first of what will eventually be 2 graphic novels. And that's called Two Stories. And then it also tells the story of growing up, witnessing hypocrisy in a Christian school. And as a kid, learning how to navigate playground politics when you're a kid, like I was, who was so out of touch with playground politics that I would dress as Indiana Jones for an entire year before cosplay was a thing. That did not go over well, but still was pretty cool. So that's that's 2 stories. That's available on Amazon, and for usually a pretty reduced rate. And so yeah, those are my 2 books. All right, so I'm heading to work. Surprise, surprise. That's what I tend to be doing during these kind of driving vlogs. And I am, man, this weekend has put me very far behind on my goals, but with reason. Saturday was a pretty effective day. I got a ton done. We were right on schedule with Not Death But Love, the strange supernatural story of Elizabeth Barrett Browning, which I'm working on currently. And that's a 230-page graphic novel that I need to finish the art for by April. And ideally, for West Margin Publishing. It's written by my sister, Lavender Vroman. It's something we pitched about a year ago, and we were fortunate enough to get a publishing deal for it in advance. And it's yeah, so that's kind of the thing I've been talking about and live streaming about, and just kind of showing the process of since Jacob's Apartment got completed. And I was right on target with that. And then Sunday, some stuff came up. Like, so I have family up visiting. My mom sort of mentioned that I should be going to this thing because it's like a family meetup, which is reasonable. And so we ended up heading up to the Peterson Automotive Museum with my brother Greg and his kid Bryce, and the rest of the family, and we were gonna head up there with Ben, and Ben didn't feel good. He threw up a couple times in the morning. Seemed like a stomach bug. We gave him a COVID test just to be sure, and he tested negative, but he wasn't able to go, and so I stayed home with Ben. I went up there so that I could, be with family, spend time with family, because it's important. And it's a pretty cool museum. I'm not really a car guy, but the Peterson is a really rad museum. It had like a bunch of stuff, and initially I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll record a vlog there. Didn't end up happening. I think the majority of the time up there, even though it was great to see family, I kind of missed my son. Like, it's always weird doing events that are great for kids when your kid isn't there. It's just a strange feeling where it's like I got a lot of joy out of it, but I missed my kid. He would have had much more fun, and I would have had fun seeing him have fun going to this museum. But it is a cool car museum in Los Angeles. They show a lot of classic cars. They had an exhibit that showed all the different 007 vehicles. They had another exhibit that was interesting. This is like a permanent exhibit, but they show different cars from different films. So you've got like the 1980s Batmobile, the DeLorean, like Starsky and Hutch car. I was about to say like the Dukes of Hazzard, but I don't think they have that there. And a lot of cars from like the Aliens franchise and so on, and it like cars from Men in Black. It was interesting, but again, like that whole time I just felt a little weird because my son's not there, but still, have to meet with family, and not complaining about that. That's a good thing. But then I get home and I start working on pages, because I'm now about a day behind, but that's okay. That's worth it for family. And my son throws up again, and then he throws up again, and I find out he's been throwing up kind of nonstop all day. And so my wife and I both, by the last time he throws up, we realize like he's not really like holding down water or food at all, and he hadn't gone to the restroom all day, and so it's like something's up. We need to take him in. to the hospital. So we took him to urgent care. My sister's sister, one of her sisters, is a nurse, and we did call her and say, hey, Benji's doing this. That's what we're dealing with. And she was like, yeah, you guys should take him to urgent care. So we were like, okay, we're not crazy. So we bring him to urgent care. And at urgent care, they have to get him rehydrated because he's had a whole day of throwing up. That was our main concern, was like that we were trying to get him, like, you know, to drink like Gatorade or something like that has, you know, like the salt and the water that's required, you know, for you not to get dehydrated. And anything he'd try to take in that would hydrate him just would come right back out. So anyhow, it was a long time at urgent care. They ended up having to give him an IV bag and help rehydrate him. And then they were concerned because he had like some pain in his stomach, and they were initially concerned that it might be his appendix. But then it turned out it wasn't his appendix, but that's a part later. So anyhow, they were kind of concerned it might be his appendix that's causing this reaction. So we had to take him from urgent care to the ER, and our local ER is overrun because of people with COVID cases. And so what usually would be like a 1-hour procedure ended up taking about 5 hours. So we actually, now that I think about it, it took about 7 hours. I'm still pretty exhausted from this night, and I'm not complaining because Ben had it the worst. So this poor kid, you know, we get there at 7. He's been, you know, dealing with this craziness, and then we're suddenly hit with a curveball of Benji in the emergency room. Anyhow, I think I lost track of where I was going there. It was a little sad, and I felt bad for the guy. Like at no point was his life in danger or anything like that. But it's like for an 8-year-old, you know, we got there at 7 at the urgent care, and then the ER, it takes about 5 hours to get from entering the ER to when he starts getting his IV bag again. And by this point, you know, everything at the ER basically takes an hour to 2 hours after a doctor appears. So the doctor would come and be like, oh, okay, he was on an IV bag. We'll get him on one just to keep him getting rehydrated. And then 2 hours later, they'd get him on an IV bag. Or they'd be like, oh, okay, they want to check his appendix. We're going to do a CT scan because that's going to give us a view of the inside and see what's going on. And that would be another 2.5 hours. So by the time they figured out what was going on with Ben, which it turned out was an infection that had gotten to his kidney. They're actually pretty common with kids his age. So he just needed some antibiotics and some anti-nausea medication to help him hold down fluids and stuff. But he was going to be okay. And even then, to get the anti-nausea and the antibiotics took another like 2 hours. And I'm not complaining. I'm just thankful, my son was okay. But the thing is, we ended up getting out of the ER at like 7 in the morning. We got home, and my wife and I were both exhausted, as was Ben. He slept a lot, but still, I mean, every time he'd fall asleep at the hospital, he'd have to wake up and do something for the nurses or for the doctors. And so, I had to call out sick from my work. My comic was definitely not going to happen. And then the rest of the day, we were mostly recouping. Luckily, Ben's great. That's the great news. Is like, the medication and the antibiotics. We got a prescription too, so he's on a much better track. He's playing. He's happy again. He's like, you can see the color back in his face. But yeah, life just threw us a big curveball, and luckily our son is okay. And it was definitely one of those moments where, so the whole day we basically all caught up on sleep, and then it was like late last night that I finally was able to kind of finish up the colors for the page I was working on and get on to page 27 or 28 now. And the colors for that. So I was up till about 2 working on that. Now I'm heading to work, where I'm going to have to, hopefully deal with the catch up and stuff, because we're in a rush season and I had to call out. So we're blessed. We're very fortunate that nothing happened to Ben, and it was a good reminder of the fact that we're very fortunate to have a healthy kid, of all the blessings we have in life, and of how fragile that kind of thing is. As a dad, I just have to say, I'm really relieved that it was nothing worse, and that my son, even though he was feeling bad, he's fine now. And we have him on, antibiotics. Everything's responding well. He's pretty much back to normal. But man, that was a scare, And aside from just being a scare, it just reminded me of something that I've been working on this last year, which is you just have to take things one very tiny step at a time, because life gets chaotic and busy, and just, if you think about beyond just the day, and you don't think about being present, even in the hospital, this was very helpful. Just take things one step at a time. Handle what the immediate concern is, and then just kind of go one step at a time. And be present, right? Because if you, as a parent, if you start thinking about all the possibilities before they've figured out what's going on, that's crippling. It's crippling, and it's hard to even imagine or deal with. And so we just took it one step at a time, and we're very present in that situation. That helped us both, my wife and I, both avoid anxiety and fear, and just kind of take care of our child and be where we needed to be. But also that, just on a broader level, now that Ben's better, I'm really behind on my book now, and that was the right call to make. That was the right call to make, right? I could have probably, when we initially didn't know how serious this was, just have my wife bring my kid in, and then she would have been stuck at a hospital trying to comfort Ben for 12 hours. And I'm glad I didn't do that. I could have selfishly decided to stay home, probably made progress on my book, and I wouldn't be as behind on the book, but I would have lost out on being able to be there for my kid as a parent, which is really important. It's important when family is struggling or sick or in need to be there. And I'm glad I made the call I did to be there, because I was a comfort to my son, and we got through it. My wife is amazing, and I just was blown away with her ability to navigate that situation as well. Anyhow, so now I'm behind. And it was the right call to make. And if I think about the broader year, I'm going to feel anxiety. Whereas if I take things a step at a time, I'm going to get through it. And we're going to see what happens. And God willing, the book will get done. That's kind of like been my week. But anyhow, I wanted to let you guys know, like usually I'd be live streaming on Sunday. And on Monday, and or I'd be doing a vlog or something. I wanted to let you guys know why I've been MIA for a little bit. And also I just thought it was an interesting thing to talk about, because again, like when you're making art or making books or making things like that, curveballs happen, and in this case, we were very lucky that Ben wasn't struck with something very serious, and if he had been, everything on in our lives would have to be on hold for that. It would have to be. And there are people out there working on books or working on projects that follow my channel. And I just want to say, if you guys are ever in a circumstance that's like a life circumstance entirely out of your control, that I think that the right call is take care of that circumstance. Take things one step at a time, and do the best you can. That's all you can do. But I'd also say, like, when windows clear up again, make comics. So that's what I'm going to be doing, hopefully tonight, depending. I might have to stay overtime. We'll see. But yeah, things got really busy and insane this weekend. And we'll probably continue to do so. All right. That's my vloggins for the day. I'm really, again, thankful for Ben being okay. He's kind of probably the most important thing to me in my life. I'd say God, and then my son and wife. Those are, the three most important things and people in my life. And so really, to me, I'm very thankful that he's okay and that he's feeling better. It's nice to see him rested and not uncomfortable, and yeah, it's just nice. We're very lucky. But yeah, now I'm gonna have a pretty chaotic week, kind of playing catch up and figuring things out. But as far as things like that go, I think we were very fortunate. Anyhow, I'm trying to think of a way to put this other than that. I guess tonight I'll be working on pencils for the next page. I got about 3. I finished the colors for the page on Monday, and then I also penciled 3 panels, and so I'm gonna try to finish the pencils for the page. That would be what I'd try to do tonight, and I'm hoping that by tomorrow I can have it flatted and be on to the next page. And I might need to get some photo references and stuff throughout the week. But it's going to be a busy week, and life is going to be full of things like that, because life happens. So, anyhow, on a positive note too, the book's selling pretty well. I wanted to say, if you guys want to help me out, like, a really good thing to do would be to review Jacob's Apartment on Amazon. Amazon reviews really help with Amazon orders. And so that's a quick free thing you can do, especially if you've read the book, is leave a review on Amazon and let people know what you thought of the book. Leave a review on Barnes & Noble and let people know what you thought of the book. You know, if you have a Goodreads account, leave a review of the book. That makes a big difference. What book? Jacob's Apartment. I think other than that, thank you to everybody who subscribed. We just cracked 3,000 subscribers, and that's a pretty big achievement for me. And I really appreciate it with all sincerity. I really like the community we built on YouTube, and I know a lot of people talk about like community on YouTube and stuff like that, but some of my favorite people in the world are on this platform, and I've been lucky enough to have built and have some new friendships building from it, and I really appreciate that. It's been a fun platform to have connections with other artists, and with people who are fans of what I'm doing. So thank you to everybody who's done that. And again, I want to really reassure you guys, like, Benji is okay. We're okay. We have a lot of chaotic things happening outside of our immediate family that are pretty heavy too. And so we're just in a season of life like that where there's a lot of chaos. And I think the thing is, that is life quite often. But we also still love books and comics and stories, and I think we all, like, especially everybody in our community, we all deal with these seasons, these complexities, and we manage to get things done and manage to make art. And what a cool blessing that is to do. So that's kind of an update on this weekend. And if I don't seem like on point, it's because I've been pretty sleep-deprived and emotionally taxed this weekend, because that was pretty heavy. That'll do it. I will hopefully have a more positive note and more positive news on the next update. But till then, we're gonna go forward and onward. All right, I'll see you guys on the next live stream or vlog. I probably won't be live streaming tonight. It's hard to live stream when I'm doing pencils, but I'm thinking midweek I should be doing another live stream, and that's gonna do it. All right, see you guys. Bye.